Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. I'm thrilled to be here with you today because I wasn't quite sure I was going to be able to make it on time. Can you let me know that you can hear me? I know I can see my picture, but drop me a word below and let me know that my mic is coming through okay. My producer, Drew, is not with me today because he is actually training another certified hypnotist. So I left that training to be here with you today. And all right, Randy, thanks. She's let me know loud and clear. That's what I wanted to know. Your self-esteem, peeling back the layers to reveal the real you. Because who you are was not developed by you. We went over that yesterday. Who you are as an adult, 80% of what you believe you can achieve, 80% of the emotions you experience on a consistent basis, 80% of the actions that you implement are based on what someone else needed you to be for them to be okay. Well, we need to begin to upgrade that. Yesterday was about actions, but today it's about self-esteem because self-esteem will decide what actions that you experience. In fact, if you've got your paper and pen with you, what I'd like you to do is I want you to draw a pyramid. And I want you to divide it into 3 levels. And the top level is going to be self-worth. The middle level is going to be self-esteem. And the bottom level is going to be self-confidence. Because the level above decides what takes place on the level below. Yesterday, we talked about you becoming more confident, and you're becoming more confident because you're actually moving into the actions that you want to experience instead of what you've been programmed and conditioned to have. But now we're beginning to understand that the actions you take are going to be ruled by the level up above, which is going to be self-esteem. So I want to hear from you. Drop me a word down below. What does self-esteem mean to you? How do you know when you're experiencing self-esteem or when you've got a lack of it? Exactly what has to be in place for you to know that you have it, or for you to know that you're missing it. So while you're deciding that and you're sharing with me, and I'm looking over to the one side because I'm watching for the comments, I'm going to keep talking as you decide what self-esteem means to you, how you know when you have it, how do you know when you're missing it? So it was about 20 years ago, I received a health diagnosis. It has a pretty impressive term for a condition that I had, but basically it meant that I had foreign bodies of tissue, benign tumors that would wrap themselves around my carotid arteries. It was a condition that was considered legacy, which means that it was hereditary. It was passed on from a father to his children. I could not pass it on to my children, but my father passed it on to me. All of my siblings, my uncle passed it on to all of his kids. And so this condition would have tumors wrap around the carotid arteries, infiltrate them, and cut off the blood flow to the brain. You can imagine not something that you really wanted to experience. And again, the first piece of it was a legacy condition. It was passed from one previous generation to the next. Whenever I was diagnosed with it, I had 6 weeks between the CT scan where they found them and then the angiogram that I was going to have, where they were going to run a wire from my groin. They were going to shoot me with dye, run a wire from my groin up into these arteries and plot out my surgery. Now, the reason why I knew I should be tested for this is because my dad was discovered with it. And then from there, they started testing my siblings. And I watched my dad follow the suggestion of the surgery for it and how bad it went for him. Because if the growths have infiltrated your arteries, they have to take off a piece and they have to patch it. Well, my dad had a patch that blew and he stroked out. Luckily, he was in the hospital when he stroked, or else he would have died from it. My sister had the surgery, and there's a lot of nerves and things that go on in this area. And because of some things that they nicked during her surgery, she lost her ability to speak and eat for a while, had to regain that. So you can imagine I was not thrilled about what they were telling me I needed to do. I didn't know anything about hypnosis, about the power of the mind, about how environments internally as well as externally work. And I started doing some investigating online, the power of the internet, and discovered that Harvard was using self-hypnosis with some of their clients who had certain conditions that the disease could be managed, the progression of it, by gaining greater control over what you had going on internally. It's a fancy word for learn to manage your stress, because the growths that I had actually would increase in size the more stressed that you were. Now, my dad was a police officer for 30 some odd years, and then he had retired. They found these growths. You can imagine the stress that he had been under for all of those years. And his went from the base of his brain, they actually had to cut out part of his skull, down across and into his heart. I had experienced a lot of stress growing up because my father was a very authoritative figure and would determine how you felt about yourself. It was dependent on the type of day he was having. So I had learned to be in a stressful experience, but then I continued to look for ways to recreate it because that's what I had been conditioned to do. Remember, we talked about that core 4 yesterday. So I would pick jobs, I would pick partners, I would pick financial situations that would turn on the stress, which would then cause these growths to grow larger. And it was the same way for my siblings. You know, we seek to recreate what we've already had, even though it's something that we no longer want. Well, I found hypnosis and I followed the protocol that Harvard had published. And within 6 weeks, I was able to dampen down my fight or flight response to the point that not only were my growths no longer growing in size, they were actually diminishing and shrinking. I didn't have to have the surgery. And I said, wow, what else can hypnosis do? And that's how I wound up getting into this field that I've been in now for, 15 plus years, is because of what I experienced personally. What I learned, though, is that we can't just learn to change our physical environment, whether that is our body, whether that is the home that we live in, whether it's the finances, our schedule, the people that we surround ourselves with. By the way, we're covering all of these over the next 5 days. That the environment on the inside is the environment on the outside is going to be dictated by the environment that we have on the inside. And that environment is going to be triggered by your self-esteem. Now, I like what Randy says here. When you see yourself the way others see you, is self-esteem. That is the beginnings of self-esteem. That is what we experience whenever we're a child. So my question for you is, who gave you your self-esteem? Self-esteem is nothing more than how we feel about ourselves. How we feel about ourselves first with our body, and then from there, because that's the closest to us, we then spread it out. So what's next after that? Is it relationships for you? Or maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your career. What's going to be after that? So we look at the 5 to thrive, and the 5 to thrive are going to be the body. It's going to be money. It is going to be relationships, career, and leadership, but not always in that order. So after your body, what comes next? This means that we can look at someone and their physical appearance, and we can know how they feel about themselves just by the composition of their body. What does this mean if you happen to be overweight? It means that you learned to value something at a closer level than your own body. You were trained and you were conditioned to put the needs of something or someone else before your own health and wellness. It's closer to you than what your own skin is. So who gave you your self-esteem? And what self-esteem did they give you? This is when we go back to the core 4. And the core 4 says that we have to make life better for someone else first before it can be okay for ourselves on the dysfunctional side, which is the reason why we continue to have problems, because we will never be good enough in making life okay for someone else, because that means they had to abdicate their responsibility for their own happiness and joy. They have given their power away to us. And when that power is given away, it will show up in one of 3 areas. It will show up as either victim, but to be a victim, there needs to be a bully, so a bully. But if we got a victim and a bully, we need to have the third part of the triad, which is the hero. And this is what you have continued to seek out because of the legacy that you were handed. Remember how I said my condition was a legacy condition? It was a hereditary condition. Science tells us, medical science tells us that all of us have the opportunity for some sort of disease or dysfunction of the body. All of us. But why do some of us experience it and then some of us don't? It's the environment that it's placed in. You can take a seed. Let's take an apple seed and put it on your desk. Is it going to do anything? No, it's not in the environment that is going to allow it to seek more life. Everything in the universe seeks more life. That's the number 1 universal law. For that apple seed to actually fulfill its potential, it has to be put into an environment for growth. It is the same way with diseases, with conditions that hold us back physically. For that to take place, we need to have an internal environment that is going to assist the production of that disease to move into more life. It needs to be triggered. There's no environment to trigger it, it'll lay dormant. Your self-esteem are the emotions that you experience around yourself. And those emotions are going to determine the internal environment that is going to produce your physical results. And it's not just physical with your body, it is physical with the other levels on the 5 to thrive. And you were taught through the triad of victim, bully, and hero. So where do you fit in on this triad? What role do you continue to live out? And I'll tell you right now, where you fit in on this is going to determine what your body looks like. It is going to determine what your finances look like, your relationships, your career, because you've been trying to fit in by coming functional side on the core 4. This is the reason why you're never going to be good enough. You can, my dad was a bully. All right, I had the broken bones to show it. My mom was a victim. She's the one who experienced the brunt of what was happening with him. And because of that, couldn't be there for us kids. Well, if the bully place is already taken, and if the victim place is already taken, what's the one that's left? Hero. And that can show up as the little rebel. And that's what I decided to fit into. I needed to be everybody's hero. I was going to save them. So the relationships I picked other victims that needed to be saved. And then if they wouldn't let me save them, I'd have to be the bully to push them into it. I picked needing to be the hero in my business. When I first started 15 years ago, I picked every victim I could find as a client because that was what I was conditioned to experience in my self-esteem. I want to know for you, your self-esteem. By the way, whenever you experience an aha, I'm typing something here real quick. An aha is an insight. It's a revelation. It is something that you're going to be able to take and implement to start getting you the results that you want. I want you to drop it below in the comments. Drop aha along with what was your insight that you just experienced. And this is twofold. Number one, anything that you put down in writing, your subconscious mind says, how can we make this part of our identity? Not a one-hit wonder of, maybe I experienced success here and there, but instead, how can we incorporate it to where it becomes part of who you are and you don't even need to think about it? So as you experience the ahas, these insights, I want you to put hashtag aha and what the insight is. Then it does something else. It allows me to reward that behavior, because the only way you will stick with an action long-term on implementing it for the first 13 weeks, by the way, is how you reward that behavior, how you reinforce it with the pats on the back. So what Drew and I are doing is, for every one of these master classes, we're giving away a course. By the way, today's course happens to be Why Wait? How to let go of what's holding you back and leap into your next level of success. But it's all about your body. Yes, you can apply the same things to your finances, to your relationships, but it's about releasing what's weighing you down because you've been programmed to experience it. Now, if you don't win the course, I'm going to share with you how you have the ability to buy it at a significant savings. But right now, I want to reinforce the behavior that you're taking by, whenever you write down aha and then what you're going to implement, we're going to give away one of the free courses. Okay. So, who gave you your self-esteem? How are you, and the self-esteem they gave you out of the core four, dysfunctional was either safety, you need to be dependent on something outside of you to be okay. Drama, there always has to be crisis, chaos, and confusion. Importance, look at me, look at me, look at me. I am starving for attention. Or connection. Let me hold myself back so you don't feel bad about the fact that you don't have the results that you want. So that's the self-esteem that you're coming from. And now you're using that to try to fit into an area of life that is going, that's not acceptable. No, we need you to show up with who you really are, which is security. I'm going to take 100% responsibility for what I've got going on. Freedom. I am going to find other choices on how I'm going to experience life. Significance. I'm going to start sharing my life lessons with others and help them improve their quality. Or love. I need to be able to love myself first before I can love anybody else. That's what you need to be coming from with your self-esteem. But instead, you've been perverting it to your past pain by the bully, victim, and hero triad. When you walk away from the dysfunctional side and start moving into what's actually going to bring you out at your best, that's when you start peeling back what you've been experiencing. And this is what's really going to get you the results. What's really going to get you the results is revealing who you really are, your strengths, talents, and capabilities, not how you were programmed and conditioned to make life better for other people. Okay. So you've decided based on yesterday what you need to experience on the core four. What level do you really need to be coming from? Okay. For that to work for you, you want to know, where do you stop yourself? Where do you hold yourself back? And that is the extra material that I gave you as far as the 3 levels of your beliefs. You have your core belief, which is what you believe about what you have. And this is what's gotten you the results that you have up to this point. Then you have the outer ring, which is what you believe about what you want. And then the final ring is, what do you have to believe about you? So let's start with the first one. What you believe about what you have right now. This is what has been programmed into you. This is what you've learned from when you were younger. Someone made a great comment that I try to make everyone else happy. I can give money to those who have an immediate need, even though I probably really should put that money towards what I need. That's excellent. Awareness is always the first step of which level out of the core 4 are you coming from. Because that level is not what's holding the success that you want to move into. That holds your wound. Okay, there's a different level. It can be up or it can be down on the core 4, but there's a different level that has yet to be explored as far as what it holds for you. Okay, so somebody else had an aha. I give and give and give. Yeah, you've been taught to do so. There was a book, and I I'm not blasting anybody. I just want to make you aware of how different segments are conditioned and programmed separately. Their experience doesn't always line up. There was a book a number of years ago that was all the rage in business building. And the title of the book is Givers Get. And it's a fair book, but it was written by a man. And I tell you what, I read it and I had to laugh because I'm at these business meetings and everybody's going, it's a phenomenal book. Oh, you've got to give first in business before you can get anything. And I'm like, bullshit. I wonder if I'll get flagged for that one. And this is the reason why you got to plant seeds. That's what you're doing. You're planting seeds, or you're helping someone create the environment. But what they do with that seed in that environment is going to be up to them. I said, you know why it's a bunch of BS, which also stands for belief system? Is because it was written by a guy. And this seems to be a brand new concept for him that, oh, I've got to give and then I'll get, because a woman has been conditioned to do this her entire life. She has been programmed to caretake for everybody around her before it's going to be okay. We actually need her to be able to go, no, darn it, this is my worth, which is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. But my esteem and how I feel about myself and the actions I'm taking based on that, whether or not they're going to work out, I'm not quite sure. But I am going to feel good enough about myself that I am going to at least attempt to make my life better. Well, yes. For women, that's what we need to move, is more of that masculine mindset of, no, I need to take care of me first because I can't give away what I do not possess. Now, men, on the other hand, yes, it may seem enlightening for you to realize that you actually have to take care of others before you take care of yourself, because you have become not self-centered. Self-centered is excellent. You have become selfish, where you are giving because you expect someone else to give back to you that is going to, complete you instead of complement you. Because either way, whether we give and give and give, or whether we give because we think we're going to get from it, is still dysfunctional. It is still the victim, the bully, and the hero. And this is the reason why you don't ever feel like you are enough, because you can never be enough of a victim. You can never be enough of a hero. You can never be enough of a bully. There is always going to be another level, another layer, another group of people that you can engage with that is going to take it to greater depths of situational stress. By the way, self-esteem is actually a group learning experience. You didn't learn it in a vacuum. You learned it based on what others gave to you. Well, it is the same way for whenever you decide that you want an identity upgrade. What do I mean by that? Identity upgrade is the mental, what you believe and what you think about yourself. It's the emotional. It's the esteem, how you feel, and the stories you wrap around it. It's the physical. It's the actions you take for growth, moving you into your next level of success, knowing not all of them are going to work, but you are worth it to try, to keep trying until you get what it is that you want. You have to have all of those as a package. And that experience is a group experience, which is the reason why you reading a book, you showing up in something like this and leaving some comments, that is the foundation, but it won't stick. DrewDawnFerguson.com/Vista shows you how we want to put you into an experience with others who are all there for the same reason. They want an identity upgrade, but in an identity upgrade that is going to continue to bring them consistent levels of peak performance revealing who they are. You cannot do this all alone. It needs to be done with a group because we are social animals in this area. By the way, I'm writing down that entire address so it makes it easier for you to find it. When you go to drewdonferguson.com/Vista, you're going to see we have cool bonuses for you. Courses that will begin to prime you so that when you move into this 2-day experience, it is going to be one that's going to give you rapid results and accelerate your progress because you've already laid the foundation on which to build. Okay. So let's talk about, we've just talked about the center of your universe, you, okay? And now we need to expand it out. So the next level, and I'd show you on my screen, but I didn't have enough time to play with this. And I want to make sure I'm bringing it up correctly. So in your group, Health, Wealth, and Happiness, if you didn't go there just yet to claim this handout called Peeling Back the Layers That Are Hiding the Real You, it's waiting for you. Draw one circle in the middle if you don't have it. That's what you believe about what you have. These are the mental areas that you've been programmed and conditioned to continue to repeat. Now we want to move to the next circle out is what you believe about what you want. There is a certain level of income. There is a certain level of love. There is a certain environment with a neighborhood that you live in. You want all of these things for very good reasons. But primarily, you want it for how you think it's going to make you feel. It's your self-esteem. I'll feel better once I get that new car. It's better than the old junker that I'm driving. I'll feel better once I'm in a relationship that honors me and the gifts that I bring instead of sucking all the life out of me. I'll feel better once I have this amount of money, because once I have this amount, I know that not only are my needs taken care of, but now I can start assisting others. That is like telling the weight reduction client that they're going to feel better once they finally reduce the weight, but that they can't feel okay until then. Behavioral science tells us, though, that for someone to reduce their weight and get physically fit, it is not an end destination that they're going to feel better once they get there. It is they need to start feeling better now, and then that will facilitate the weight reduction. The same way when I told you my story about how I got involved in doing hypnosis and rapid results coaching through identity upgrades, with that condition that I had, I'll feel healthy and whole once I get rid of those tumors. Medical science told me I start feeling healthy and whole. That's what gets rid of the tumors. You cannot figure out how to be healthy by studying sick people. All you can do is learn to treat disease. If you want to be healthy and whole, you study people who are healthy and whole. So, you want what you want because of how you think it's going to make you feel, and it's going to increase your self-esteem. What happens if it doesn't? What happens if the relationship goes south? What happens if you get habitually conditioned to the new car that you got? Okay, then you're going to feel like you're being held back, and you got to go out and give your power away to something else for you to be okay. By the way, I want to make sure that my connection is still good. Can you give me a comment letting me know that I haven't hung up? So just give me a shout down below that says, hey, yes, you're still coming through the way you need to be. I'd appreciate it. All right. So the idea is to start reclaiming your power, quit giving it away. So what do you believe about those things and how you think they're going to make you feel? Start finding ways to feel that now. And you will find then the accomplishment of what it is that you want will come quicker, faster, and easier. Because the emotion has to be in place first for you to take the action. Remember, I gave you that identity pyramid? Okay, thank you, Randy. It's coming through. Good. I saw the little spinning wheel, and because I don't have my producer here today, I'm like, oh crap, did I lose connection? I'm not quite sure. All right. So anyways, we're looking at you feel good now. Even if you feel stressed out, Olympic athletes experience a high level of stress. Think about our sprinter. She's lined up in the blocks. You know how they put their feet against those blocks? No, it's not like I'm doing Thriller, okay? They put their feet up in those blocks to be able to push off. Do you think their body is not under a tremendous amount of stress, tension, and strain getting ready to push off and get the lead whenever the gun fires off for the beginning of the race? They've just learned to take that stress, tension, and strain and funnel it into extra energy for success. The emotional experiences that I grew up with that had me turning on my fight or flight, that led to my condition worsening because of the growths doing what they were supposed to do, which was growing. When I said I turned off that fight or flight experience that had that, and by the way, I'm not saying hypnosis is a cure. I cannot say that. I cannot say what I'm giving you is actually going to work for you. Human behavior cannot be predicted 100% of the time. If it could, I'd be rich and retired by now. Okay? So not everything works for everybody. But this is the study of healthy individuals who are happy and fulfilled. And that's what I learned to do. I learned to take that energy and stress and strain and even at times fear and not turn it off, but actually turn it into a fuel source to be fulfilled. And fulfillment comes about by using the best parts of you that have been underdeveloped and going, well, I wonder what will happen whenever I stand up for myself. I wonder what will happen if I choose to make this okay for me before I make it okay for someone else. I wonder what would happen if I decided to take someone else and their needs into mind first before I decided to impose mine on them. By the way, do you see how I covered both masculine and feminine on that one? Okay. Dependent upon whose research you look at, you're going to find that there are anywhere between 400 and 7,000 different emotional states. For the average individual, they experience 10 of them their entire lifetime. 8 are negative, 2 are positive, and it's the ones that they were programmed to experience up to age 8. And then they spend the rest of their lives seeking out people, places, and things that are going to have them feeling angry or depressed or not good enough, or they have to rely on others, or the only time I can get attention is when my life falls apart, or I have to sacrifice myself for others to be okay, or I always must keep my mouth shut and be seen and not heard. One of the things we're going to be doing at Vista is putting together a plan of action for the emotional states that you're going to start experiencing on a daily basis, but you don't have to wait till Vista comes about. You've got 3 dates to choose from, but let's start working on your empowerment now. Look up values. Go online and look up values. Why values? Because values are nothing but emotional states that have been coalesced and condensed into an attitude. It's not a one-hit emotional state of, oh, I have this every once in a while. No, it is a guiding principle in my life. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the values that I no longer embrace is drama. Cannot have it in my life, because it turns me on in a negative way and I go into fight or flight because of the abuse that I experienced. So instead, I look for freedom and choices. Again, what we went over yesterday, freedom and choices of who I'm going to take on as clients, who I'm going to surround myself with as far as friends, and even family. Unfortunately, there have been some family members that I can love them, but I love them from a distance because I cannot be around them because I go into a painful state emotionally when I get triggered by them. Start looking at different values you want to replace, the emotional states that you have been conditioned to experience, because you just can't take out an emotion. Oh, I'm not going to be angry anymore. The subconscious mind will not tolerate a void. It must have something to replace it with. So you've got to choose that value that you're going to start living your life by. And now we're going to go to that last ring. And that is, what do you have to believe about you? What do you have to believe about you that you're not currently believing right now? I don't know. Do you have to believe that maybe it is okay asking for your worth and your value? Is it okay for you to believe that even if it's a long day, you're still going to find the time for self-care? It's interesting. There are two ways for our body. And remember how I said at the beginning, we can look at you and see how you feel about yourself, how you feel about how your life is going, the choices that you have. Because while you have the choice to change your thoughts whenever you want, you do not have the choice of how your body is going to express the thoughts that you focus on consistently, because that will express itself. Your body, your finances, your friends, where you live, it has to show up. Anything you continually focus on. So what do you have to begin to believe about yourself that maybe you didn't believe before? Whenever we get stressed, we typically will soothe ourselves with food. Something we're going to ingest. Food, drink, which is smoke. When we get stressed, we find a way to turn it down. But then when we feel like we're not pumped up enough, we'll seek out an external source the same way. Food, drink, what you're smoking to pump you up. All of it says that you have to hand your power away for something outside of you to make you okay. It's time for you to start reclaiming your power back, because when you hand your power away, you have just put yourself into a victim position of that food, that drink, that smoke, that person to begin to take advantage of you. And remember, once you start on that victim path, your mind always looks for ways to accelerate it. Once you get started in a certain direction, the mind's going, how can we turn it on? Especially with other people are involved, which is the reason why I said success and identity upgrades are group activities, inviting you in to work with that group. So once you start handing your power away, you have stepped into being a victim. And now your very powerful mind will find additional ways for you to be a victim. And it starts a downward spiral. What seemed like it just wasn't working in your finances is now moved into you're fighting with friendships. The fact that, maybe you've got some challenges going on with acid reflux, and oh my gosh, now that's holding you back from actually showing up and doing your career. One thing leads to another. It is a cascade effect. Let's start taking your power back by looking at what level you want to come from on the core force. So here's your plan of action. Okay. So what level are you going to come from on the core four that you picked from yesterday? And what do you need to turn on as far as values to start living that core four? And then how can you start taking actions to be around others that have those same values? Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm inviting you to take the next step, whether it is through the course, Why Wait? Let go of what's weighing you down and leap into your next level of success, which is designed around the body. And you're getting it at a significant savings. It's typically, what that course is typically $397, and I have it at $97 right now on the Vista page. Or whether you're going to claim all the courses and your 2-day mastermind, where we can put together a plan of action that is going to bring you out at your very best. This is a social activity. Stop trying to do it on your own, because if you could have done it on your own, you'd already have what you want. And join me tomorrow when we get into the financial parts of your life. And remember this, you'll never outperform your inner identity. So it is time to upgrade who you are, what you feel, and the actions you take. And we'll talk more about beliefs tomorrow. So post your ahas. Look for the winner that we'll be sharing a little bit later on, I think today. Yes. And you can do this. You are absolutely brilliant. And I am giving you permission to turn that light on even brighter. Until we get together again, blessings on your journey.